Shalom, family, and welcome back to another Sound Sabbath class. Okay, in this class, we're going to be dealing with Father's Day. Okay, we'll be dealing with Father's Day. Let's go ahead and let's open up to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31. We're going to read verse 22. But before we do, we're also going to be dealing with an article, this time a single article. And this one, the source from history.com, will be reading the article and breaking it down with the scriptures as well. So this one's Father's Day 2025, history.com. So, and I'll be reading and going over that as a big factor for the duration lesson and just going back and forth with the scriptures. So, and it reads, the nation's first Father's Day was celebrated on June 19th, 1910, in the state of Washington. However, it was not until 1972, 58 years after President Woodrow Wilson made Mother's Day official, that the day honoring fathers became a nationwide holiday in the United States. Father's Day 2025 will occur on Sunday, June 15th. That's the synopsis. Mother's Day, next segment. Mother's Day, inspiration for Father's Day. So, Mother's Day, as some may or may not know, was the inspiration behind Father's Day and how Father's Day came about. So, the Mother's Day we celebrate today has its origins in the peace and reconciliation campaigns of the post-Civil War era. During the 1860s, at the urging of activist Anne Reeves Jarvis, one divided West Virginia town celebrated Mothers' Workdays that brought together the mothers of Confederate and Union soldiers. However, Mother's Day did not become a commercial holiday until 1908, when inspired by Jarvis's daughter, Anna Jarvis, who wanted to honor her own mother by making Mother's Day a national holiday. The John Wanamaker department store in Philadelphia sponsored a service dedicated to mothers in its auditorium. Thanks in large part to this association with retailers who saw great potential for profit in the holiday, Mother's Day caught on right away. So let me pause there. Let me get Jeremiah 31 and 22. Jeremiah 31 and 22, and it reads, how long wilt thou go about, O thy backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. So, and that is used in a variety of applications. But for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to hone in on the fact of it was truly the core of Father's Day is extrapolated from the mother, extrapolated from what's being celebrated led by women. Now men are being considered, as an afterthought. So as an afterthought. So in those things being a situation where normally you would have it to where the man being the leader, setting the example, setting the tone, you would think that would have came first, following the natural order that the scriptures bring forth. So, but rather, no, you have the opposite. So, in terms of, it was the mothers that were leading the way in terms of being celebrated in those regards instead of the fathers. Now, we're going to read this last paragraph that we were just reading. It says, thanks in large part to this association retailers who saw great potential for profit in the holiday, Mother's Day caught on right away. In 1909, 45 states observed the day. And in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson approved a resolution that made the second Sunday in May a holiday in honor of that tender, gentle army, the mothers of America. We're going to get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15, and verse 12. So, we're We're in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 12. The book of the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 12. And it reads, "But they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain." Because remember, that was the mindset. Like I said, like read, thanks in large part to association with retailers who saw great potential for profit in the holiday. That was the key thing. It was all about the profit. The profit. So being what? Being here, there's a market for gain. What we can gain from this. So it wasn't truly centered around love for one's parent, appreciation, or thankfulness, but rather in terms of what we can get out of it. That's what it was, and what we can financially get out of it. Origins of Father's Day, the next segment. The campaign to celebrate the nation's fathers did not meet with the same enthusiasm. Perhaps, one of the reasons that could be a possibility, because as one florist explained, fathers haven't the same sentimental appeal that mothers have. So they don't have the same sentimental appeal. So it's easier to appeal to the mother audience and those with mothers versus fathers. And now, mind you, because some may say, they're looking at it in this day and age, this was back in the early 1900s. This wasn't late. This wasn't something like we thinking of in like modern day or, in the 90s, even the 80s. This is back when it was common to have a father in the house. So, but just dealing with the nature of a man versus the nature of a woman, that is different. So fathers having the same sentimental appeal that mothers have. So that was a big part of it. On July 5th, 1908, a West Virginia church sponsored the nation's first event explicitly in honor of fathers, a Sunday sermon in memory of the 362 men who had died in the previous December's explosions at the Fairmont Coal Company mines in Monograph. But it was a one-time commemoration and not an annual holiday, because you have that too. Some things just and that's something to where, okay, not mad at. That's not, to say commemorate or have a memorial with something, or someone or some people that passed, that's fine. That's law. Our forefathers and foremothers did those things, spent time honoring, people or things of nature or those that are fallen, yeah. Didn't necessarily mean they, made it a holiday, in that case. So the next year, a Spokane, Washington woman named Sonora Smart Dodd, one of 6 children raised by a widower, tried to establish an official equivalent to Mother's Day for male parents. She went to local churches, the YMCA, shopkeepers, and government officials to drum up support for her idea, and she was successful. Washington State celebrated the nation's first nationwide Father's Day on June 19th, 1910. Slowly, the holiday spread. In 1916, President Wilson honored the day by using telegraph signals to unfurl a flag in Spokane when he pressed a button in Washington, D.C. In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge urged state governments to observe Father's Day. Today, the day honoring fathers is celebrated in the United States on the third Sunday of June. In other countries, especially in Europe and Latin America, fathers are honored on St. Joseph Day, a traditional Catholic holiday that falls on March 19th. Now, Father's Day, controversy and commercialism. Many men, however, no, it's not a few, many men, however, continue to disdain the day. They continue to disdain the day. Why? As one historian writes, they scoffed at the holiday's sentimental attempts to domesticate manliness with flowers and gift giving, or they derided the proliferation of such holidays as a commercial gimmick to sell more products, often paid for by the father himself, being the main provider. But again, let's get Sirach. Let's go to Sirach now, Ecclesiasticus. Let's get 13 and 4. Let's get Ecclesiasticus chapter 13, and let's read verse 4. The book of Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 13 and verse 4. Sirach chapter 13 and verse 4, and it reads, if, notice that if word, if thou be for his profit, because you may not be, but if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. So, of course, yeah, you're for his profit, something he can profit off of. So now it becomes a situation where, of course, I'm going to use you. Use and abuse the system. Get it while the getting is good, because there's a market for gain. During the 1920s and 1930s, a movement arose to scrap Mother's Day and Father's Day altogether in favor of a single holiday, Parents' Day. Every year on Mother's Day, pro-Parents' Day groups rallied in New York City's Central Park. A public reminder, said Parents' Day activist and radio performer Robert Spear, that both parents should be loved and respected together. Okay, let's get Lamentations 4, 1 through 2. So, let's get Lamentations 4, 1 through 2. So, and yeah, let's get that. Come on, Jeremiah. So, Lamentations. Come on, come to me. Oh, so close. So close, so far. Okay, here we go. Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 1 through 2. And it says, how the gold become dim, how the most fine gold changed. The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter. So, oftentimes going back to, what stating earlier, that you do have, like I said, the sentimental approach. It's not the same sentimental approach there, for, the fathers in general. Some of that just comes from the mindset towards, a father. Oftentimes it does come from, like the scriptures say, the gold becoming dim. But a lot of times it's just the mindset. Forget about in this day and age, because so many of us were disconnected, from our fathers. So, and the role that a father plays. And so many of us, because we didn't have a father in our life or grow up with a father, or then you have those that they had a dad but didn't have a father. May have been a man there, but wasn't really a role model or really a father figure. So you have that. So just because there's a man, or just because you have a biological dad, doesn't mean he was truly a father in your life, which has left many people, especially of our neighbor, but even just in the world, many people who there's a lack of love, admiration, consideration, value, in terms of that man altogether. To where now it's like, you hear it more and more, hey, I didn't have a father in my life, I turned out all right. So, or hey, I don't need a man, So you have that, and that becomes part of, that value, that gold, that man is supposed to be valuable, how he loses value, and isn't considered to be valuable. So in many ways, or that value is very much so limited to a monetary sense, and there's a lot more than that. So, uh, but that's something that's only been something that's been growing, with time. But it takes for others to, come back into, as you, even if you didn't have, that father in your life, as you read the scriptures, you'll learn how to be that if you didn't have that. If you read, learn, and sincerely apply to turn yourself into that. And you also, as you read, you look and you covet the best gifts that align with the scripture that I see. That's a good attribute. That man has that, because sometimes they got that, but then lack all these other things. So you learn to, all right, I know those things, yeah, not to do, don't be like that, but okay, I'll take. You have those things. So now, let's let's get Exodus 20 and 12. Let's get Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Let's flip over, get the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12, and it reads, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So even with, the efforts to try to have a Parents' Day, okay, yeah, get it. It's noble. Get it. Get where someone's trying to go. Okay, yeah, we're trying to, honor both. We're not trying to single one out over the other or things of that nature, and can get it. Someone may not have bad intentions in that, but the Most High already called it for what it was. Giving that honor and respect to both father and mother. So he already called it because he already knew it was going to turn into this. So this is what you were going to have. So, and the Most High didn't want that. So he didn't want, these particular issues. So let's get Sirach 7:27-28. Let's get Sirach 7:27-28. The book of Sirach, chapter 7 and verse 27. And it reads, honor thy father with thy whole heart, and forget not the sorrows of thy mother. Verse 28. Remember that thou wast begotten of them, and how canst thou recompense them the things that they have done for thee? So it's saying, in many of us, regardless of how you may feel towards your biological mother or father, just understand, for literally, 20 is the age of maturity. For how many of those years, even if you were there, even if you saw, how much did you truly see? A lot of things you see, but you truly don't see, with your parents. Certain story things you may have been told, certain glimpses you gotten, but a lot of things you don't truly know. You may not, feel they did a good job, or you think all the things they could have done better. And those things cause us to lack value and respect for them accordingly. And not just for them, but oftentimes for the position itself. The title of parent or mother or father, because of the poor job you feel your parent or parents may have done. But you weren't aware, you're more likely not aware of the various challenges or sacrifice they made from the time you were conceived to the time with you later in life. A lot of things you may not be aware of, you may not really know, especially, like they say, from the horse's mouth. And there's things where, man, you see life is challenging, and the biggest way, to just process, these things is, let me just fight to be better than what they were. Because, I mean, being honest, the state of the world is getting worse. But a lot of that, it starts in the households first. So we can complain, about mama, daddy, and what it is they did or didn't do. But to be honest with you, as the generation go on, it's these new parents that are doing even a worse job than they. You know, it's just the truth. Each generation getting worse because the parenting is getting worse. So it's highly likely that you're doing a worse job than your parents. Highly likely. But you might be part of the exception that you actually did better. Because it's one of those things, can you honestly say you did or are doing a better job than they? How many can truly honestly say that? That yeah, I'm doing a better job raising my kids than what my parents did with me, hands down. So, or is it a trade-off? Or is it, hey, I'm trying to measure up to the 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 parent I had or parents I had. I'm trying. So, and then now is I understand some of the things that my dad was going through or my mom was going through now that I'm married or now that I have kids. Now I understand. Now I might understand why mom left or dad left or what drove, mom or dad to committing, suicide, so on and so forth. Never know. Or why certain things why certain things were the way they were. So in the scriptures, it's trying to get us to understand that, being a parent is challenging. And there's a variety of different challenges and issues you have to deal with in parenting that this life doesn't stop. It's not like oh snap, hold up, I'm having these issues, these marital issues, but hold on, let me pause because the kids and so we can just deal with this, for a few months. Let's just put all this other stuff on hold and get things back on top. No. Whether you have issues with your spouse, with your kids, your job, life keeps lifing. You got to keep it moving. You got to keep figuring out and keep rolling with the punches. I can't let it have me so far removed that I can't function, that I can't do what I need to do. I still have to be able to figure it out as we go. Certain things may have to table and come back to. Certain things, hey, let's revisit that, but then I can't let too much time pass, then I've forgotten, and it might just be Band-Aids put on a wound that needs surgery. But there's so many social issues, economical issues, the whole nine, and things that as a parent you got to figure out and try to make happen or do that, like, man, as a kid, whether 5, 10, even up to 15, things you don't even know the ins and outs, things you don't consider. Things that you are very slowly but surely, incrementally trying to learn and figure out. Like a 1,000-piece puzzle where it's like every month you just get another puzzle piece added and you're still trying to figure out how all this comes together. You're seeing, but yet still not perceiving. Yeah, you kind of see pieces of it, but you're not seeing all this, all connected. It's only slowly but surely over time. Especially given if you're a smart enough kid to pay attention. Like I said, even at 14, 15, 16, there's a lot of things you still may not really be able to understand or really see. And there's a good number of people, they don't even get it till they actually end up in a relationship themselves. or until they end up with kids themselves. Then they start to see, oh, now I see. Now I get it. Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom. Oh, now I get it, Dad. Now I get it, Mom. Okay. So then you may give more respect, more honor, because now, okay, yeah. Now I can see what caused Mom to leave. Now I can see what caused Dad to leave. All right, I get it. I get it. It ain't easy to deal with this. Okay, I get it. So, um, yeah, and that's just the reality, and it's why the scriptures say what it says: honor thy father with thy whole heart. Man, like truly, give him that due respect. So, you know, um, even if you feel like they wasn't the greatest in the world, so, and then just use that to let me be better and do better. Saying, forget not the sorrows of thy mother, because usually you were around your mother more in your childhood. So usually father was gone more often than not anyway, due to work or other circumstances. But and forget not the sorrows of thy mother. Usually your mother's around more. Usually there were times that you saw her sad, you saw her depressed, you saw her going through it. Even though at times she tried to cover it up or put a smile on, you still saw through it. Hey, yeah, mom's hurting. She's going through it, but she's trying. So try not to forget those things, because a lot of times your parents trying to do things and fight for you, for your sakes. Nowadays, you, parents ain't trying to fight. They using the wrong F word. They just saying, forget it. You fill in the blank. Hey, forget it. Just, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I tap out. It ain't worth it. Too hard. That's why 28. Remember that thou was begotten of them. Remember, you come from them. You can only badmouth them so much because you come from them. Apple don't fall far from the tree. So, and the dishonor of them, or the dishonor of your father, isn't honor unto you. Yeah, my mama wasn't ish. My dad wasn't ish. My dad wasn't there. But the dishonor of them isn't going to bring you any more honor. Hopefully you can truly understand why they weren't there. Or, and really, was it even a situation where it was truly on them? Was it really on him, or there's different scenarios? Some man, yeah, he didn't want you. He didn't want to be around you. Other ones, nah, he would have been there, but your mom didn't want him there. Didn't want him in the picture. Didn't want him around. Or just made things difficult or unreasonable. So, hands was tied. You have different scenarios. Try to learn yours sincerely. So, you have different scenarios. So remember that thou wast begotten of them. And how canst thou recompense? Recompense is how can you pay them back? How can you recompense them the things that they have done for thee? How can you recompense the things that they have done for you? How can you pay them back? You can't. Because even if you have the money, per se, I got millions, but still the time and the sacrifices at that time. During those times, they made those sacrifices. During those times, they had the long nights or the sleepless nights. Trying to take care of you, working extra jobs, trying to hustle, trying to penny pinch, trying to get things together. Tired, but I still got to do this. Tired, I still got to do that. That's all the stuff you can't pay back. Doing that for years to take care of you and your siblings. So to trying to provide better for you. You know, and then hey, this is the final product. This is what I got. You know. So let's continue. Paradoxically, however, the Great Depression derailed the effort to combine and decommercialize the holidays. Struggling retailers and advertisers redoubled their efforts to make Father's Day a second Christmas for men, promoting goods such as neckties, hats, socks, pipes, and tobacco, golf clubs, and other sporting goods and greeting cards. Let's get back to Sirach 13. Let's read 4 through 5. Sirach chapter 13 and verse 4. If thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. 5. If thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear and will not be sorry for it. So for them, it's just about the financial incentive. That's the focus. To continue to shove a plethora of advertisement to get you to buy into something that they don't really care for, but as long as it gets you to buy merchandise, to buy something, just buy something. Buy something for us because we're trying to fill our pockets. So even if it costs you, even if you rack up, your credit card bill, or if you exhaust your savings, hey, guess what? It went to us and we're good. We're satisfied. You'll deal with that down the line. You'll figure it out. That's all they care about. So that's why, hey, they're willing to be buddy with you, whatever it takes. They'll pay, spend money, average, whatever it gets you to buy in. Then hey, they don't care. Whatever you spend, you got to spend to make it happen for them. They're content. Like I said, you can spend your last. They're going to say, well, sorry, just be wiser with your money. So we didn't make you do it. All we did was advertise. So when World War II began, advertisers began to argue that celebrating Father's Day was a way to honor American troops and support the war effort. By the end of the war, Father's Day may not have been a federal holiday, but it was a national institution. See that? Boy, they push anything advertisement. They say, you support the fathers, you support the troops. Get another buying into a sentimental appeal. Those who, they're at war, taking advantage wherever they can. Let's get Deuteronomy 5:16. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 5. And let's read verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 16, and it reads, honor thy father. Deuteronomy chapter 5. Verse 16. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So you want to make sure you give that respect to your mother and father, that your life may be prolonged. And some of that is spirit, but other part is just the cause and effect, just the reality. Like, what goes up must come down. Why? Because it's like usually if you don't respect your parents, then who will you respect? And if you lack that respect and you just treat people any kind of way, talk to any people any kind of way, and you lack that level of fear and discernment, then you're probably going to end up putting yourself where you're going to get killed, if not doing things reckless to endanger your life or get in trouble with the law and get yourself killed, and messing with the wrong people to get yourself killed. I mean, it's just what comes with the territory. So, and that you short your days that way. So could have lived longer, but you provoke these things. So usually if even take even further, usually if you're willing to cuss out your parents, who won't you cuss out? You willing to put hands on your parents, who you not gonna put hands on, and that's going to put you in other places that gonna get you caught up, hurt, killed, you know, paralyzed. I mean, you name it, you have that. So and that's what you have. You don't want that. So then you have a situation. Let's get Romans 10:3, and like with the Most High, this is why He didn't give us a literal Mother's Day, Father's Day, but left it like, nah, you're supposed to have that same, keep that energy all year. Don't try to go super out of your way that one time out of the year, because then it takes away from the effect of the rest of the year. Because you think you try to focus everything in that day. That's the day you want to do something special. That's the day you even some fighting with yourself and try to let me do this. I'm trying to do this. This my mama. It's my mama too. I'm trying to do something for that. I want to do something nice. You create emulations and unrighteous competition. Who can do it the best. So you don't want that, and then you don't put any of the same effort or energy throughout the year. Or some people even take it further that they check the box. Now I did something for your day. Now you can leave me alone for the rest of the year. I did something for you. Now I'm worried about me. So I'm gonna take it to that regard. Some they even worse. So you had your day. I made my time. Come see you, do something nice, get you some flowers, chocolate, and take you something out to eat. Now I'm doing me. So not supposed to be like that. So you're not supposed to be like that. Let's get Romans 10:3. And then you have this. Let's get Romans 10:3. And it reads, Romans chapter 10 and verse 3. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. You have that. You have that. You have people going about that because they're unaware of what it is, because ignorant doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means you're unaware of things. I don't know. Or you choose to ignore things. So when it concerns, in this case, how the Most High God wants things done and why. But yet, you're trying to establish things your own way. Nah, we need a Mother's Day. Nah, we need a Father's Day. We need a day to feel special. Nah, God gave you the year. What you need a day for? You got the year. That way, any day, it's free for all. Any day, someone do something special all the time. Some people have that, man, every week I take, my mom out to dinner, and I check on her every couple of days, and good. Oh yeah, my daddy's sick, so I had to move in with us, or we moved in with him, and to help him out. Good. Yeah, it's good if you can do that. That's why it's good, to have multiple children, because everyone's situation may not be the same. It may not be personal. This child may not be able to help take care of me. May not have the time, or may not have the living accommodations in that regard. Heck, not everyone's gonna be rich or even middle class. I'm poor. I'm struggling just to take care of my own situation. I couldn't even take that situation on. Not that I wouldn't want to. I would want to, but I don't have the space. I don't even have a space to bring mom or dad to be able to live here. Because my living situation already small and doesn't even accommodate my family. My family's stacked on top of each other. So, or it just wouldn't be, with my mom or dad's condition, just wouldn't be wise, because they need certain things that I can't provide, given their current state of health. That's just the reality sometimes. So, you have that. But just keeping in mind that the Most High God, He set it up for the honor. That honor should be there, you know, on a regular basis. That desire to want to do well, you know, for your father, for your parents, that should be there on a regular basis, not limited to once or twice a year. So it should be that, man, what can I do? If you need me, I'm here. Even the little thing, if you need me, I'm here. Need me to change a light bulb, you know, I can change a light bulb for you. You can just come over, wash the dishes. Certain things, it won't really hurt me to do that a couple of times out of the week. And if you got more siblings, it's like, hey, it's five of us. Can we each pick up a day? You know, or I understand, yeah, Tony, you can't do it, but you know, cause your situation, or you in a different state, but you know, can we at least, hey, Russell, we ain't too far. You know, I'm 10 minutes away. I know you 20. You know, then I know you 5. You know, and I know proximity doesn't always mean availability, but you know, is there a way we can squeeze this in? Look, I'm even willing to take, you know, I'll be here 2 days. You know, I'll take the extra day. You know, Jackie, can you be here? Okay, cool. You know, Dwayne, can you be on these? Okay, cool. You know, Tiff, can you? All right, cool. You know, John, all right, cool. You know, to be able to make it work, come together. You know, while you're paying that regard. Unless, hey, I know y'all got families. I ain't got no family, you know, of my own in that regard. I don't mind moving back in, you know, taking care of pops. I don't mind, hey pop, I gotta spend. I'm decent. You come stay with me. You know, I can help you. You know, and I'll help you for as long as I can. And then, hey, if I can't, see if one of my other siblings they can take over. You know, I may have went 3 years strong. You have that. So, and I'm sure your parents probably appreciate having you around or the ability to be around you again. Definitely makes for better company than being alone. So think about it. You know, when your time comes when you older can't really do certain things for yourself and or just yeah, you are up in age, family moved out, things get pretty lonely, pretty quiet. You know, all the time you young kids be no one get on your nerve, but then you get used to it and then you miss them when they gone. Now you want them to call. Why don't you call me? Man, not too long ago you was waiting for me to get out of the house. Now you talking about why don't you want to call me? You know, yeah, 'cause now I miss you. Now you gone. So, you know, things like that. Just be mindful. So let's read this last paragraph and get this last scripture. In 1972, in the middle of a hard-fought presidential re-election campaign, Richard Nixon signed a proclamation making Father's Day a federal holiday at last. Today, economists estimate that Americans spend more than $1 billion each year on Father's Day gifts. Let's get Sirach chapter 13, 6 through 7. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus chapter 13, 6 through 7. Sirach chapter 13, verse 6. And it reads, If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee, and smile upon thee, and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair, and say, What wantest thou? And he will shame thee by his meats, and he have drawn thee dry twice or thrice. And at the last he will laugh thee to scorn. Afterward, when he seeth thee, he will forsake thee, and shake his head at thee. So just know, when it comes down to the commercialized efforts, it's just that, you know. Father's Day wasn't something that was made or established because people felt fathers were great, worthy, good, even at time when it was normal to have a father in the house. So, but it was rather about commercializing, you know, the day and for profit, for retailers to make profit during times and be able to advertise and promote to make money to save their own businesses. You know, but rather it's instead of trying to get the day that man was saying is rather we should focus on reestablishing those connections and those meaningful relationships throughout the year. For those who, you know, still have their parents in their lives. My parents, grandparents, they all been deceased for a while, but for those that have them, honor them while you got them, and do what you can for them. So even if they, not in the truth, don't promote, sin in their life, but, or don't enable them to sin, but, hey, I extend some of that good, and all the more if they're in the faith, and man, do go above and beyond that much the more, you know. But those things are still something good to do. So pray with that. You got something out of the lesson, learned a little bit more about Father's Day, and and just understand why it's something that we won't celebrate or promote celebrating, because the Most High, if He wanted to give a day, He would have gave us that, but He didn't want to limit us to a day. That as parents, He didn't want to limit us to a day. He rather, I want to make sure you have the year, every year, because that you're more than worthy of that. So just off top, just off the rip. So, but with that, hope you got some out of it. With that, I